Welcome to Outside the Op, where dentist owners come together to share the cool things they do when they're not being a dentist. It's all about life outside the dental practice. In each episode, we'll dive into the ways these practice owners find their thing, the fuel that helps them balance the stressors and demands of running a business while being an amazing dentist. I'm Paula Parker from The Profitable Dentist, and I'd like to take you outside the op. Hey, dentist owners, welcome to Outside the Op. Today, I'm joined by an extraordinary dentist in California, Dr. Kimberly Hubenette. She's the owner of Synergy Dental Group in Sonoma. She lives in Sonoma, California, surrounded by beautiful landscape and obviously beautiful wine. And I just found out something really interesting about her. If you look behind her, Kimberly, tell us what those are.
So, hi everybody, I'm Kimberly Hubenette, and I have a few hobbies, and this is one of them. I've created some candles with my favorite wines. So in the valley here, we have one of my favorite wines, Chateau St. Jean. And so what I did was I bottled my favorite, I kept my favorite wine bottle, and it actually represented the day that I turned 40. And we had a whole bunch of girlfriends of mine. We went to the winery, and I actually etched the glass for them that said happy 40th. And I made a candle out of the wine bottle. So I have a few here that I've been keeping, and these are my favorite wines. And if you can see in the background here.
Hey, you might be my hero just from how dedicated you are to preserving the memory and the unique way that you've done it. But also, I have to ask you, have you seen the movie Wine Country with Amy Poehler and Tina Fey?
Oh, I have not yet, but maybe I will.
You need to, especially at our young age. You need to watch that. It's great, and it is actually pretty hilarious. So outside of being in beautiful Sonoma in California and wine country, I do want to kick things off with you, Kimberly, by just talking very high level about you as a person and a little bit about your dental career. So I know that you've practiced for 30 years and you are an avid outdoors woman, that you have a beautiful companion, Dakota, that hikes with you everywhere you go. So we'll learn more about your dog, Dakota, and how remarkable of a friend that she is. It's a girl, right, Dakota?
Yep.
Yep.
And she's actually sitting right next to me right now too.
Can she say hi?
Dakota, come say hi. Can you say hi?
You got it.
This is my baby, Dakota.
Hey, Dakota. It's really nice to meet you.
She's my little pitty. She loves to be with me. So she's sitting right here, and she's quiet, so she'll just sit right here next to me.
I love it. Thank you for the introduction.
Yeah.
You also are a successful author. Oh my gosh, you've completed one book. You're working on the next. So we'll touch on that a little bit. There's just so much more about you, but most importantly, and what is near and dear to my heart about you when I read your story, is that you are so passionate about living life to the fullest. And many people say that, but we'll hear more about your story and really what drives that passion. And leaving nothing on the table. Do it. Get out there and do it. So when you hear her story today, it is remarkable, and you'll understand so much more about the why behind her approach to life. So I'm really anxious to introduce Kimberly to you guys. So Kimberly, welcome. I am so glad you're here today, and I really appreciate it very much. I think it's really important also to kick off this conversation by giving a quick overview of your career in dentistry, because that's why you're here. You're a dentist owner, a successful dentist owner. So I want everybody to be able to understand your professional journey in dentistry, but I also want to remember that the conversation today is more about you as a person, because we, the Profitable Dentist, TPD, we believe that good dentistry and practice success is really driven by you, the doctor and the business owner, and where you are physically, mentally, emotionally, because we can't show up for our practice and our team and all the demands that it requires from you without being well first. So I think it's really an important reminder for our conversation that it's about you as a dentist, but it's really about you as a person more so. So with all that said, I've got some questions here that I want to ask you. And if you are ready, let's dive in. You ready?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. First, high level, tell us how you became a dentist. Like, what was the catalyst in your life behind you choosing this profession?
Well, my dad was a dentist, or actually, I should say he still is practicing every other week. And life balance was one thing. When I was in high school, I started thinking about my career as a dentist. And basically, I thought, my dad could always go with me on trips, and he was always on vacation with us and so forth. And I thought if I was a medical physician, maybe I wouldn't be able to have that career. And one thing I thought was, you know what? I don't want my patients to be dying on me. So I decided that I was going to become a dentist like my father. And he almost fell backwards when he knew that I wanted to become a dentist.
I'm but probably very proud as well. And so if he's still practicing, how old is he? How long's he been in the industry?
So if I'm 53, he's been practicing for 52 years because
Wow.
they had me when he was a junior in dental school.
Okay. And so when he does he practice with you or does he still maintain his own practice?
He maintains his own practice. He's down in Southern California and I'm in Northern California now.
Okay, well, you're covering the state, so hey, good deal. I like that. Um, Talk briefly about what you see as the biggest challenge right now as a practice owner. So post-pandemic or whatever's impacting you right now, we like to hone in on kind of what the pain point is right now for you in practice ownership.
So for the past 16 years, I've lived in Sonoma and I've had my practice here. And the main thing is I've had a steady front office, back office culture. And even though I've had some four main core people that I've had in the past like 20 years, I've had the same front office for 22 years. I've had my office manager for 16 years, my clinical person in the back, my main one was 15 years. And it still is people, it's staffing and culture. And for the past 2 years now, I've struggled with finding the right team for my hygiene team as well as my clinical team, because I strive to have people keep continuing with their CE and their education. If somebody wants to keep continuing, I encourage it. So it's kind of a double-edged sword because my front office has stayed, but I have RDAs that keep going into something more. So I have a RDA that went into EF, and then I had an RDA that went in is wanting to go into hygiene. And then now, like post-pandemic, I've been struggling to have a core hygiene team. So we've been having to, struggle to look for the correct, proper people that fit my culture in the office.
Well, I mean, your team and your culture is everything. It drives the business. It drives patient retention. It drives everything and healthy patient outcomes. So I appreciate you sharing that with us. So obviously, being a practice owner and running your own business comes with high demands and constant demands, which is again why this conversation is going to focus on your wellness, dentist wellness. Um, So to put it in perspective for me, I always, and I know people talk about this, but I seriously think it's a great analogy. So I always think about pre-flight instructions when I'm sitting on a flight and I'm getting ready to take off, and you do the thing where the flight attendant's doing her thing or his thing. And they make sure that you understand that if anything happens in the cabin and that oxygen mask falls down, that regardless if it's your kids or your spouse or your parent or whomever's flying with you, that you put on your oxygen mask first so that you're intact and you have the ability and the mental clarity to help others around you, whether it's, again, your family or another passenger or whatever. And I think it is a really good way to think about our approach to life. Because I think it's the same thing in many situations, but with your practice too. So you have to be well for your practice to thrive. So that wellness starts with you. If you want your team to be well, your front office to be well, everything you do, your finances to be well, you've got to be well yourself to begin with. So big part of that thing is being able, I think, to step back and take time to self-care, remove yourself from the demands of practice ownership and your business and caring for others all day, and find passions in life that fuel your wellness tank outside of your profession, if that makes sense. So you have a plethora of them. You are, again, an amazing, avid outdoors woman. You have so much that you love to do in nature. So I do want you to tell us some of the cool things that you've done as you've approached how to handle and manage your own personal well-being. I know, and I'm a lover of our national parks, but I'm also a lover of Yosemite National Park near you. And I know that you have trained and climbed Half Dome. And I don't know if everyone knows what Half Dome is, but in your full written article that we'll publish, there'll be pictures. You've trained and hiked or climbed Half Dome twice. So you've done some amazing things, and I want you to talk a little bit about some of those things and what they are and why it's important to you and how it fuels your wellness tank.
Great. So 3 years ago, I lost my husband. He was an avid outdoors person. He had a long-term illness of cystic fibrosis, and he was living on borrowed time. He had a double lung transplant that lasted 21 years. And he was the one that inspired me this whole time when I met him from the day that he died. Like, we lived life to the fullest. If he had a good day, we'd be out hiking. If he had a bad day, I'd be with him, but we would still like do something. He would never want to sit around. And having cystic fibrosis and the double lung transplant is already a miracle, right? And so basically, he taught me that I needed to balance my life and my career. When we moved up to Northern California, what we did was we decided that we were going to hike every day, like do something every day. We had quads, three-wheelers, camping, that kind of thing. And 3 years ago, if I hadn't had those things to fall back on and balance my life and my career with that, I don't know what I would have done. I had my staff that really helped me at that time 3 years ago, that, they helped me through the devastation of losing my husband. But very rapidly, I was able to take life back. And although I'm very sad and I always think about my husband every day, I still choose to live life and have a balance. I go hiking. I started like hiking more. I started training last year I did a trip from Yosemite, well, actually from Mammoth to Yosemite, and in your background there, you can see me. That's the picture of me.
There's
Thank
Kimberly.
you for putting that up there.
It's
And
beautiful.
and then I also did the Half Dome the year before, and it was for End World Hunger. I do a lot of community service for the office and myself. And it's basically for myself because I learned that from my husband and my family and my career. We've always had a affinity towards wilderness. And so I balance it, my career with walking every day, taking my dog for a walk every day, um, taking deep breaths in the morning, and being able to stretch and exercise. And I have the ability to shut it off, shut my brain off at the nighttime and be able to sleep at night. For some reason, I don't know how I can do it, but I've trained myself to do it. I write things down so that I don't have to think about it. And then I just put it on my desk and I know I'll get to it the next day.
Well, I had the benefit of knowing your story about your husband and his physical challenges with his illness throughout the years that you guys were together. So I've had the ability to process that. And I think that one of the things I pulled out of your story was, never give up, never be sedentary, move through life as hard as you can and embrace everything that you're physically capable of and emotionally capable of to keep forward momentum. That is critical when any of us run into any type of catastrophic life event, health event. The mental state that you're in going into that will, I believe, dictate a lot of the outcomes for someone. I've also tried to understand more about the importance of meditation. I've spent years in the corporate world and recently transitioned about 2 years ago out of that and into this work in dentistry. And I know that finding work-life balance was pretty challenging. And I even worked for a corporate 100 healthcare company whose mantra was well-being. And that's kind of why I'm a champion for it now, because when I moved into dentistry, what I learned quickly was demands on a dentist owner are very high. It's a constant challenge. And many have the struggle of transitioning outside of the walls of their practice and into their private life. Because I think you wake up a caregiver, you go to bed a caregiver, you're trying to do all these things and build all these things at the same time. You've got a family, most likely, you've got a personal life, you've got things you love to do. Just from the standpoint of taking time every day to go to a place where you can clear your mind and be ready for what's going to come at you during the day. And then to your point, that restorative process that comes about with a good night's sleep, the ability to sleep, because I think I still even struggle with that. So all the things that you've said, I think are just reemphasizing the importance of having a solid foundation with your partner, with your personal life, and physically being well, trying to go into what's coming at you next, if that makes sense. So I think that everything you said is pretty remarkable in that, with the amazing challenges that you've had come at you, just with the loss of a spouse and trying to navigate the last 20 plus years. You still had all of those things that you did together to come back to. So I appreciate you sharing that part of your story with us. So that aside, moving into, you do so much, how do you fit it into your life when you've got so much going on professionally?
I've had the ability to be able to section my life, and I do use schedules a lot. I'm a believer in, the beginning of your day is the most important part of your day to, get yourself organized. And when I wake up in the morning, I have a routine. I have a certain routine that I do every day so that I don't miss it. I have a monotonous, like, schedule routine during the weekdays, but the weekends, like, I do nothing really, except hike and walk and all that. But when I wake up in the morning, I do my set things, and then when I drive to my office is the time that I either listen to an audiobook or I listen to, like, my favorite song, get myself going, because right when I get into that door, my team is going to see what I'm doing, and I have to be ready for them, because they know if I'm not on my A game, and they know more than what they uh allude to. They
Yeah.
see everything. And also we have to be on our A game for our patients too, because our patients see everything. They might not allude to it, but they notice things. And so from the time that I tell myself, from the time that I reach that door, I'm not doing anything personal with my phone or anything. I just kind of I've also learned that I'm not going to pick up my phone either unless I know that I'm waiting for a call, or I
Mm-hmm.
know that it's a scheduled thing that I have to do, because when I'm at work, I'm at work. And
Mm-hmm.
when I'm at home, I'm at home. If
Mm-hmm.
there's an emergency, I know that I still have the capability of all the emergencies come to my phone anyway. And I give my phone number to all my patients, but they seem to be okay with, they don't bombard me with questions or concerns. I think that, giving your patients the autonomy to be able to reach you is
Mm-hmm.
still okay for me,
Mm-hmm.
because they know I'm there for them, and I don't get that many calls. You would think that, oh, if you give your phone number to somebody, they're going to call you all the time. Well, I
Mm-hmm.
haven't noticed that. And so, they give me that that freedom. They say, oh, sorry to bother you, but this was something I have to ask you. I rarely get that.
I think it's
Um,
amazing that you extend that courtesy and part of yourself to your patients. I think that is huge as far as really emphasizing to them that you genuinely care.
yeah. And our mission in our office, the first sentence in our mission statement is lifelong uh, relationships with our patients and our team.
Mm-hmm. It's funny that you bring up that you put your phone away and you disconnect from all the distractions of the day and you are present, because I think for so many of us, I know I struggle with this too, but even more so now, with all the ongoing distractions that cloud our brain all day, being present of mind and physically present and giving 100% attention to what is in front of you is becoming more and more challenging. So again, back to the meditation, I think that helps put you in the right frame of mind at the beginning of the day. And I love the idea of having a very, I don't want to say rigid, but it's a dedicated morning routine, and it's doing the things that get you in the right frame of mind to walk through that door and start your day and actually be 100% with your team, with your patients, doing what you need to do throughout the day. And the other thing I love is, I don't know if you're a Ted Lasso fan, but really resonates with me about continuing to be curious about the things that fill your day. Because if you're curious and you put yourself out there, you'll learn so much every day. And you have the benefit, I think, of coming into contact with so many of your patients and knowing their story over the course of time and the course of treatment, and creating that bond with them, that lifelong relationship that, you stated is important to you because it's the first part of your mission statement, right?
That's right. That's right.
So I love that about you. Um, so actually, before I move on, I wanted to know if you wanted to share anything more about other things that you do outside of your really cool wine bottles that are candles now, and the hiking, um, other things that you do. You're a writer. You have
Yes,
tons of experience. Yeah, you even caught a big fish.
I did. I went to Cabo and I decided that I was gonna go catch a big fish. Like I've always had to something to check off my bucket list was to get one of those, catch a marlin, right? Well, I didn't catch a marlin, but I caught a huge 75-foot Yahoo fish. And it was actually it's called a wahoo. Have you ever heard of a wahoo?
I
It's a
have.
big fish in Hawaii, I gather.
Okay, okay.
So I was reeling it in, and I was so tired after the 25th minute of trying to reel it in.
Oh,
And I asked the guy, "Can you help me?" He goes, "Senora, it's not my fish if I help you." So I had to struggle, and it took me 35 minutes to get that fish, but I got
wow.
it.
That is amazing. I know that you said that you got to eat your fish, right?
Uh-huh. And we shared half of the fish also with the staff that took me out there. I was the only female on that boat. All the other guys that were on the boat, I don't even know, but I just threw myself out there. I said, "Hey, I'm going to go," because none of my girlfriends wanted to go with me, but I went. And anyway, we gave half of the fish to the team that helped me, and then the other half we had it as a feast.
So how did they prepare it for you?
Oh, they cooked it in 4 different dishes. They had it in pasta. They had it in like a taco style. They had it steamed and poached.
Oh my gosh, and it's fresh fish. I mean, you caught it, you ate it the same day. You woke
Same
up,
day.
that fish woke up in the ocean that morning and ended the day on the table because of your achievement, your win.
Yeah.
So,
And I also do a lot of outdoor, like I'm learning how to do archery now. And I also have been an avid hunter and do some trap shooting. As a kid, my dad was an avid hunter, like birds, ducks, pheasants, geese, that kind of thing. So I do that too. I mean, I go out and I go, do some trap shooting at my club that I belong to here in Sonoma called Wing and Barrel.
I love it. Um, there's so much about you, and we could talk for a long time because we have a lot in common. So considering your journey, and it's been a good and a long one, what do you think your advice is to other dentist owners about finding what I like to phrase as the passion outside of your profession? What is it that you would offer for somebody who thinks about it a lot, but doesn't ever feel like they have the time or the approval from themselves or others, perceived from others, to just get out there and go after it?
So it's whatever life consumes you, right? And so you have to take the time in order to appreciate life, because you don't know how much longer you have on this earth. And what I do is I want to make sure that I take time to acknowledge
Mhm.
my family, my staff, my team, my patients, everyone around me.
Mhm.
And, uh, you have to be selfish a little bit in order to gain what commitments and things that you want to do in life, because life will consume you. Like if you make dentistry, live love life and everything, like just consume of dentistry, that's all you're going to do. But make sure that you have a little bit of time to compartmentalize and go out and do something. Like, make yourself, if you don't have time, like, you have to make time. Like, if you don't want to walk every day or do some stretching or whatever, go out and get yourself a dog. That'll make you go do something. You know what I mean? Like, if you know yourself and you know that you need to have somebody push you, go get somebody to say, hey, can you call me once a day and tell me to go do something?
Yeah.
Like, go out with you and do something. Like, if you live by yourself, let's say you don't have a spouse, why don't you like make sure that you have like a buddy that you can say, hey, can you just call me and like push me out the door sometime, or like, let's go do something together, or you tell me to come do something with you, or that kind of thing. Look for groups. I started a hiking group recently for people that only have 1 hour a day, so we go on Wednesdays occasionally during lunchtime to just go walk around like our area. So yeah,
it's the importance of having what I call an accountability partner. It's holding each other accountable for making the commitment and sticking with it to better yourselves. And I also
there's actually an app that will, if you don't have an accountability partner, there's an app that I found that you could like remind yourself to do something, or you can even use Google Calendar to put tasks in, and it'll tell you, okay, it's time to go do this, or it's time to go do that.
Where would we be without apps, Kimberly?
Yeah, I know.
What's the app called that you're using? Do you recall?
Oh, well, right now I'm using the Google Calendar with the tasks, but there is an app. I can't remember the name of it, but there is an app that you could use for that too.
There's literally an app for everything. And I do think that you made an interesting comment at the beginning of this. You said you need to be selfish. And I agree with that, but I think the word selfish makes people uncomfortable. So I think what I like to think of, or how I like to approach it, is you need to be self-aware. You've got to be self-aware. You've got to know when you need something and what you're going to do to get it, to make things okay for yourself. So self-awareness, I believe, is key to constant betterment throughout life. For sure. So before we wrap up, and I can't thank you enough for sharing your life with us. You've been very transparent and very candid, and you're truly an inspiration to me and a heck of a wellness champ. So thank you so much. But you had also shared a couple of really interesting things with me. And so what I'd like to leave the audience with are a few key takeaways about you, because as I do this and I get to know the dentists that I interview, it just reinforces how important relationships are and communication is, and how much we as individuals can learn from other people if we're open to it and we stop to listen, stop talking and just listen. There's so many amazing stories out there, and yours is certainly one of them. But I had asked you when we were preparing for the interview to share with me your favorite quote. Do you remember what you told me?
Yes, just my favorite quote is doing the right thing when no one else is looking.
Yes. And why do you love that quote? Why does it speak to you?
As a little girl, my parents would always be very, as a Chinese American, they would always be telling me to, do the right thing, do the right thing. And I just want to be able to sleep at night, like if somebody's doing something that's right, like it's also like, it's like when you go and you're walking your dog and your dog poops. And sometimes people look around and they keep walking. Well, I'd rather just pick up the poop, right? That's a little something that I thought like would, you want to make the environment better. You're doing what's right when nobody else is looking. Why? Because you're as myself, I want to make sure that when I leave this earth, everybody's going to remember me as a true, like, good person, and that they always did the right thing for everybody.
First of all, your example is amazing.
Yeah.
I love because it's simple, but it gives you an actual visual about walking your dog and what happens when you walk your dog and making the little pit stop and cleaning it up.
Yeah.
So great example there. Um, so the other thing that was really amazing about you is your great grandmother and her life story around being born in China and then wanting a better life and the journey she went on to get that. So to wrap things up, I'd really love for you to share a little bit about your great grandmother.
So my great grandmother, I was fortunate enough to have her in my life for about 25 years. She was 104 when she passed. And when I was a little girl, this lady, shows up in our house, and I didn't know who she was, and they said, "This is your great grandma. She just came over from China." And I was like maybe 7 years old. And the story that she told us is that when she was back in China, they thought she was rich because my great grandfather would be sending her over some $20 gold coins every once in a while. And so when they started having that there was a war going on, and she was actually a hostage in her own house in China because they thought she was rich, and they started having her, like, be on her knees, like, and they actually, the hostages, they had to be walking on glass, and they made her, like, they hung her by her toes, and she wanted to get out of China. So what she did everything she could to get out of China. And by the time that we were able to get her out, we had a 16-year-old aunt. Okay, her daughter, she was not able to get her over to the US, so she actually had her going to Canada instead. And my great grandmother never saw her daughter again until like 20 years later. So that when my grandmother was, I would say, in her late 70s, we finally were able to reunite my grandma and her daughter. And we went to Canada and we met her for the first time. And they just had to survive. In order to get out of China, they had to get out of there and do whatever they could to get out. And they sacrificed their relationships together. They wrote letters to each other because there's no cell phones back then, right? So they used to write each other letters. But my aunt had never saw her mom again. And we never saw the cousins or anything until they were all grown. I've only met her once. And, basically, it was amazing to have like 16 other cousins over there in Canada that we never met. And finally we got to meet each other. But my grandmother never wanted to really talk about it that much. But I did a recording on her, and we still have it on like a cassette tape of her telling the story of herself. And we asked her questions about, the lifestyle and so forth. She really never talked about it much, but it always exuded in my mind how we would have to make sure that we remember those things, in life, and that we are always like being better to one another.
Yes, we her story allows you to kind of pause and seriously think about our own lives, because I personally don't know anybody that's encountered that level of hardship, and has gone through that many unbelievable, what we can't fathom what any of that would be like, to give up your child or give up your family, just to try to have a better life. And because we only get one, right? So that is remarkable that you were able to capture that and have it forever. That interview with her, or conversation, should I say, to recount what her life was like. I think that's awesome that you'll have that. Kimberly Hubenette, you are delightful. I'm filled with gratitude for how you've shared your life with us today. And I want to sincerely thank you for doing it. I appreciate your time so much. So we will wrap up now. As I said, we will publish Kimberly's full story online, and push that out to our audience of dentist owners. So until next time, just listen to Kimberly, get outside the op, and keep thriving. And thanks so much. We'll see you next time.
Thanks so much for spending a few minutes with us. I think talking to colleagues about their approach to life and career always leaves me inspired to think broadly and differently, and I hope it does for you too. If you'd like to be featured for a future episode of Outside the Op, click the link in the show notes below and let us know about your thing. And hey, while you're there, leave your comments, please, and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons so we can stay connected. I'm Paula Parker from The Profitable Dentist. Go do your thing and be well.